A new CBS News poll shows a majority of Americans have a pessimistic outlook for the environment. 57% believe it will be worse for the next generation. Only 12% believe it will be better. A new book offers a more optimistic view of the future of our environment. It is called Climate of Hope: How Cities, Businesses, and Citizens Can Save the Planet. The book is written by former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, who was on 60 Minutes last night, and former Sierra Club Executive Director Carl Pope. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How was your 60 Minutes experience?
It was great. Anything on CBS is good.
There you go.
We think that too, but it was a very good piece. Very good piece about
So
you.
this is a call to action, and especially a call to action at the local level.
Yes, because people live in cities. That's where the problems are, but that's also where the solutions are. Federal governments move monies around, state governments move monies around, but local governments influence how we get around, what fuels we can burn, whether or not we are compliant with the rules. And people who want to live cleaner, breathe cleaner air, drink more pure water, have a better economy, it's in the cities where they can change things.
Not too late.
It's certainly not too late, and the whole idea of this book, Carl and I got together and said, everybody's so pessimistic, but we really are making a big difference. We are going to meet the COP21 goals without any help from the federal government, basically.
In fact, the United States has reduced its carbon emissions by a larger ratio than any other major industrial nation. We've already accomplished 2/3 of what President Obama promised to accomplish by 2025. And this is being driven by public sentiment at the local level, by leaders from cities, and by innovation by American businesses.
But if you're talking about the globe, China and India are some of the largest polluters on the globe.
Well, wait a second. China, in all fairness, is one of the countries that is working the hardest to clean things up. Why? Because you can't see across the streets. The pollution is so bad. And they've woken up and said, we just are not going to stay in power unless we do something. And so they are closing coal-fired power plants. They are closing cement plants. They're closing steel plants or moving them away from the cities.
And India just announced that they will not build any more coal-fired power plants for the next decade. They've put a complete suspension on starting new coal-fired power plants because in India right now, if you put out a bid, solar comes in first, wind comes in second, coal comes in a poor third in terms of cost.
Oh, okay, that's what I was going to ask. But we are now at a point in which alternative means of creating energy are lower than fossil fuels.
Cleaner means cheaper.
Yeah.
Cheaper, cleaner. That's what clean energy has become.
And what's happening, Charlie, with the jobs, unfortunately, for people who work in the coal industry, technology is devastating them. Back in 1925, there were 800,000 people that worked in coal. In 1980, there were 250,000. Today, there's 55,000. And production has gone up. So it's all technology that's destroying jobs. And we can't just sit here and say, woe be to us or woe to the coal miners. We've got to do something. And what you have to do is help them train for other jobs because those jobs aren't going to come back.
But you have an administration in Washington says it's going to reduce the standards from EPA, that it's going to withdraw from the Paris Agreement.
Well, hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully they'll get some sense and say, look, America's going to meet its goals anyways. It would send a bad message. Let's go along and try to work from within rather than from without. But no matter what they do, we are going towards a world where coal is going to be less used, where fewer people are going to be working in the industry, and we've got to find ways to get jobs for people who are not just in this industry, but in lots of industries around the world being pushed out by technology. And you don't do it by going and creating jobs we don't need. You have to create jobs we need. The good example is we have lots of soldiers, veterans. We've got to take care of them. We've got to find jobs for veterans. But you don't go start a war to give them jobs. You find things that they can do and that we need in society, and there are ways to do that. And one of the things Bloomberg Philanthropy is working on is supporting those kinds of organizations that retrain.
You both say that you want to start a new conversation about climate change. You said you don't want, let's talk about the immediate threat. For so many people, it seems so far in the distance, and you're saying, no, don't pit the environment against the economy, Carl.
Well, let's look at the reality. We didn't make America great by keeping buggy whips going in the 1920s. We made America great by building the world's greatest auto industry. We're building right now. We have the opportunity to build the world's greatest clean energy industry. We developed the basic technology. We have the world's greatest electric cars. We ought to be embracing a future. Already, clean energy employs 5 times as many people as natural gas, coal, and oil combined. So there are hundreds of thousands of jobs in the clean energy industry. There can be millions. And cities are competing with each other to see who can get the most of them. That's what's great about cities. They compete to move forward, not to look backwards.
And Gail, to answer your question, the bottom line is the air that you breathe is something we have to clean up today because it's hurting you and your kids and your grandkids. The water you drink, you saw what happened in Flint, Michigan. If we start putting the tailings from these coal mines into the rivers, which an EPA regulation just got rolled back will now permit, people downstream are going to all of a sudden wake up one day and find their kids have been poisoned. This is just, you can't.
How did this romance start between the two of you? Because you're two very unlikely different people. Mike, you said you're stereotypical environmentalist. You said you don't wear Birkenstocks and eat granola. I'm talking about you. That's what you said.
And when he was mayor, he had a great idea. And the great idea was to get better financing for mass transit in New York City. And he asked me to help him. And we were delighted to help. And we failed. The state legislature wouldn't see the common sense of raising enough money for transit in New York City. And at that point, we realized we were both frustrated by the failure of the state government in this case. Right now, maybe it's the federal government, to do common sense things that mayors just saw as this is what I was put here to do.
I hope people get how serious this is.
What grade would you give President Trump at the end of 100 days?
Well, it's much too early to tell. I can tell you, if I were him, I would focus on building a team that's going to stay with him for his whole administration rather than trying to get things done, whatever done means, in a given set of time. You're never going to satisfy enough people to do that. But if you build a real team, you can have a successful administration. And if you don't build a team, you can't do it on your own.
He just asked a great for now, though, Mike. He didn't say later.
Well, it's just
Don't give somebody a grade 3 weeks.
He's been in office for 3 months.
Okay,
See how this tag team
Mike
works? I mean,
Bloomberg
look
and Carl
at this. It's a
Pope.
tag team.
Climate of Hope is on sale right now.